We are live for the second ever RZFL XFL podcast for week 2. We are sponsored by Buckley Apps, coming at you with the greatest games of the century. Download Protect the Piggy or Jail Run today on the Google Play or App Stores. Help support our sponsor. I am your host, RZFL Sports, and we are live in Canada from the Wobbly Potato Productions studio. Today we are here with Nicholas Buckley himself. Say what's up.
Hello, everybody.
And the one and only John.
What's up?
We're all here. We're talking about the XFL, the world's greatest league for the time being, the Extra Fun League. Today we're talking about power rankings, our picks for week 2, our upcoming picks for week 3, and what we thought of the games. We're talking about the star players and everything. And let's go ahead and get right into it. So, first, should we start off with our picks?
I think so.
I think so. We're going to start off with our picks for week 2. Unfortunately, me and Nicholas Buckley, we went 2-2, while John went 3-1. And let's explain our picks real quick. So for the first game, we all picked the Guardians, and that did not go well.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't expecting that, but the Guardians were shut out, utterly.
Matt McGloin, absolutely terrible. In the first half, he was 5 for 14 for 32 yards and an interception, a passer rating of 14.6. Somehow, he got worse. Went 8 for 19 for 44 yards with 2 picks and a passer rating of 10.1 on the day. We got to see live footage of him screaming at the sideline and him getting benched, which was really, really cool. Obviously, we got out of this game that Cardell Jones is a beast, and DC is a very, very well-rounded team. Would you say so yourself, Nicholas Buckley?
I would say so, definitely. For me, I think that DC is probably the best team. They're definitely the team to beat right now in the XFL. I just feel like they're
I think I would say it's Houston, actually. But
Oh, really?
I would like to say that the Roughnecks are definitely the best team. I do still think that they are better.
I mean,
than
PJ
Defenders.
Walker is a living legend right now.
Yes, but no team has someone at quarterback like Cardell Jones and a good defense.
But PJ Walker is a human stunt double. He's like the Deshaun Watson out there. He's got the arm of Drew Brees. He does it all. He's got a fantastic receiving core too. And who cares if you're giving up touchdowns when you're scoring like that?
Still, I feel like utterly shutting out a team is something that should be commended for. It's probably the best team.
I mean,
And the defense had a pick 6 and almost 400 yards of offense. Like, it's a great team.
Well, we learned this game, though, that the Guardians are not legit, at least for now. Eli Rogers had himself a game, was heavily involved in that first half, went to play the game instead of his mother's funeral. And again, Cardell, a beast. DC went for the first ever 3-point conversion and double forward pass. They failed both of them, but still,
Yes.
try to rub it in against their rivals. So, they won 27-0. Let's go on to our second game, the Dragons versus the Vipers. How are we feeling about that game?
You know, I'm feeling the same way I felt last week when the Vipers lost. That on paper, the Vipers should have won this game, but it's the same exact things that happened last time.
I mean, being a Dragons fan, I feel like this game should have been close. I think the Dragons should have won by at least 3 or 4 touchdowns. Brandon Silvers only had 90-something passing yards on the day. He had multiple opportunities. Keenan Reynolds was open. Dantas Bird was open. Everybody was open, and he just underthrew them. So many touchdowns. The Vipers secondary got burnt to a crisp, like they were toast or something like that. And I felt like the Dragons should have taken advantage. But a fantastic play by the former Cleveland Brown and current Seattle Dragon Marcel Frazier with the pick 6 that put the Dragons up, and then a smooth ending to the game.
I'm going to be honest, looking at the Dragons play this week, I feel like there's a lot of potential in their team, and I feel like next week, when they go and play against Dallas, they actually might have a shot to win that game. So I think when we actually get to picking who we're going to want to win in each of these matchups, I think I'm going to have to go with the Dragons in that one.
Yeah, like, I know that the Vipers were 0-3, but that pass interference at the end shouldn't have been called. And
what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
are you
That
kidding me?
That wasn't even pass interference.
Are you?
What
Did
do you
you
mean?
watch it?
Yes. Pull it up right now.
All right, I'll pull it up.
That was not pass interference.
Boom!
was-
I got it right here. Let's watch it.
Okay, here's the throw. That's a clear push off.
All right,
there.
all right.
Whoa,
all right,
that's a
look.
clear push off.
All right, so I agree.
That's a push-off.
There was a push off, but here's the thing: pass interference is when you push someone so that they're not able to make a play on the ball.
Well, look, he gets pushed out of
He
the
pushes.
way.
Okay,
He
but
got
then,
pushed out of the way.
but then he puts his hand up
That's
right
my
in the
boy.
passing lane.
That's my boy Clark. He had an interception earlier.
He puts his arm right up in the passing lane. If he put his arm up in the passing lane, how is he out of the play? Here,
That's pass interference.
Here, I have the rule right here for the definition of pass interference. It is when it's 1 yard beyond the line of scrimmage and significantly hinders an eligible player's
He
opportunity
was
to
so
catch the ball.
he was significantly hindered. His whole back got turned from that
If he wasn't, how was he able to turn around and make a play on the ball?
because he's that good.
Okay,
That's
then.
pass interference.
So if we're just trying to make players see how good they are, then why are we calling that? Let the skill
That's
speak
a-
for itself.
No. That should be an illegal play every single time. That should be flagged every single time. I think the
Absolute-
refs did a fantastic job there.
Do you know how many times they've called pass interference? The amount of penalties in this league has been lower. I thought you called this the fun league. Huh?
It's the extra fun league. But sometimes you can't let players overly get away with stuff like
And
that.
you're gonna call this overly getting away with something?
You know,
I am too.
I'm gonna have to
John?
agree with the call on the field. For
Are
this
you
one.
serious?
Look at that.
Look,
2v1 right now.
he turns around and is able. How is that significantly hindering?
I think that is significantly hindered. Look at that.
Watch
Push,
it.
Look,
Watch it.
there's the
It's a
shove. I
clear
agree,
push.
but look, he turns around, he gets his hand up. How is that significantly hindering?
Doesn't matter. You wouldn't even made the 1 point. Or the
It does
2 point
matter.
line.
That's the rule. That's what's in the rule book.
But you're looking at the NFL rulebook. This is the XFL. The NFL is the no fun league. This is the extra fun league. Different rules. The kickoff's different. The point conversions are different. Everything's different. So pass interference is different. Where's the XFL rule?
They literally.
I'm looking for the XFL rule right now.
They've advertised every single rule change. Why would they change pass interference? It's
Because
pass
they do.
It's
Yeah,
pass
it's clear.
interference.
I know. If you push over someone, it should be called every single time. 99 out of 100 times it should be called.
Okay, if you push off of someone and you push them onto the ground, that should be called. If you push them off,
But
guess what? You're still.
But if my
both
boy was
competing.
just a beast, he would have been pushed to the ground.
So you're calling him a beast, and yet he's able to turn around, put his hands up, and completely miss a ball and let him get a back corner catch in the end zone.
You know, Nicholas Buckley, I'm not too sure about that, but I think this is the right time to mention your company here and all the apps that you
We'll take a slight break from the heat as we are sponsored by Nicholas Buckley Apps, coming at you with the greatest games of the century. Download, protect, pay, or run today. Back to the discussion. Your quarterback's name is Taylor Cornelius. You think you can get away with that? With the last name Cornelius, you're not doing anything.
And you're telling me that a team that got utterly destroyed last week is going to take a penalty to win the game. I'm telling you, if they got this touchdown right here, they go for the 3-point conversion and we win the game.
No shot. No shot.
Absolutely.
With who?
Absolutely.
With Taylor Cornelius, a quarterback?
We have.
He threw a pick on the next play.
I know he did, but
Next
if
play
we
would have
have
been 3-point conversion. That would have been picked off.
that next play would have never happened because if our coach was smart, we would have been able to actually run a 3-point play and get it. I know we would have.
No shot. No
Absolutely.
shot. Zero shot. Zero shot. I mean, our coach Jim Zorn is a moron. I mean, like if you're up 9, if you're down 9-6, what do? You go for 1 or you go for 3. You either try to tie or you make it within a field goal. He goes, nah, we're going for 2.
That was a terrible decision.
Yeah, and then he did it again when Dragons went up by 3. You either go for 1 and be up. If they kick a field goal, you're still winning, or you go for 3.
There was no reason to go for 2.
Yeah,
I
Jim
agree.
Zorn's a moron.
Do you know what else was a terrible call? This pass interference in the end zone that stole the win away from the Vipers.
I mean, we're probably both biased because I'm a Dragons fan, you're a Vipers fan, but we got the neutral fan here.
Let's talk about the Vipers. In week 1, they lost to the Guardians, who happened to get shut out in week 2. How do you feel about that?
I told you, like the Vipers this game, they were over 50% on third down. They had more rushing yards. They had more passing yards. But they were over 3 in the red zone. They should have gotten this, so it should have been 1 for 3.
Well, you can't snap field goals apparently, and I mean don't throw it right to a guy in the end zone.
if you're even within the 5 and you have one of the best running backs currently in the XFL, why don't you run it? I don't understand that.
Because he might fumble.
He's not going to fumble. Cornelius is going to throw an interception. That's what's going to happen.
Okay, we've talked about this game for a while. Let's go ahead and go on to our third game. I was in the wrong here. I picked the LA Wildcats because I generally thought this was going to be the upset. I felt like Josh Johnson, a former NFL quarterback, was going to outplay Landry Jones, and he was just missing throws all day long. Why do you guys go ahead and pick Dallas on this one?
Well, I looked at the Wildcats Week 1 game, and I figured, hey, they lost by 20 points. I know the Roughnecks are a good team. However, I'm not real sure that I had the confidence in the Wildcats, so I just went ahead to pick the Renegades for Week 2. We haven't seen enough action, I see, through Week 1 to actually determine too confidently which team is better overall. But I just went ahead and picked the Dallas over the Wildcats on that one.
How about you?
I mean, the Renegades look really, really good. I think they were the only team. I mean, and it's a lot. Yeah, they were the only team this week that had over 400 total yards, and they are.
Well, Landry Jones was throwing for a lot, but we saw the early parts of the game was just like anti-scoring fest. No one wanted to score.
Yeah.
The fourth quarter picked up, and we were like, okay, this is a good game. Ultimately, Josh Johnson in third had Nelson Spruce open for a touchdown. That would have been the difference in this game. I honestly feel like LA should have won. Their fans also got to stay around. There was literally no one there. Also, the Seattle game, over 29,000 people showing up.
That's crazy.
Very, very solid. I mean, Seattle, they'll literally show up to anything. But there's the best fans in the XFL, obviously. And, I mean, that's why the Dragons won, too. Not because of a bad call, because they won. They're the better team and had the crowd with them. So, Dallas gets the win. Landry Jones literally just looked like an old man playing quarterback. His shoulder pads were not buckled down. He was mic'd up. He had a leg brace on. He was limping all over the place. And somehow, Dallas still wins because he was able to make enough throws down the stretch to go ahead and win the game.
And even though, this is why I don't think I'd put them at number 1, just because, again, Jones had 2 interceptions, and throughout the game, they had over 100 yards in penalties.
Well, Dallas would probably be the bottom half of the league, honestly. They wouldn't even nowhere near top. Yeah. I just didn't see enough. Their defense is okay. They have probably the best running back in the game.
But then the Wildcats had Nelson Spruce, who had a great game.
Nelson Spruce had a great game week 1, too.
Game.
Yeah. Nelson Spruce is a baller. So, yeah, let's go on to our final game, which is probably the best game, a game that Agent Pewds live streamed, our other sponsor. Go check him out. Link will be in the description. Anyway, we had the St. Louis Battlehawks taking on the Houston Roughnecks. The Roughnecks, again, with P.J. Walker, proved to be amazing. And they got the job done and won the game. This time we're actually talking about a real bad call with the offsides. Jordan Ta'amu in the fourth quarter threw an interception where the guy obviously jumped off sides. Do you guys feel that there was a guy obviously?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a guy that jumped off sides. But then there's a pick six on that. That definitely played a factor in the game. St. Louis was able to make it just a 4-point game at the end.
I mean, I think they surprised me. The Battlehawks there in that game, I did not think it was going to be as close as it was, considering they only beat Dallas by 6 points in the first week.
I felt like St. Louis had the potential to keep in it, but honestly, when Houston started pulling away at the end of that first half, I felt like it was going to be a blowout. But Jordan Ta'amu, who's probably the third best quarterback in the league, very versatile, only quarterback with over 100 yards rushing, very, very solid. He's a dual-threat guy. He was completing pretty much all of his passes, allowed his team to go ahead and get back in it, but then made some bad throws, bad reads at the end of the game, and kind of cost himself the victory there.
And not only that, but the Roughnecks were 4 for 4 when they were in the red zone, and that's a stat that no other team reached this week, which is really
That's because they got P.J. Walker, best quarterback in the game.
And P.J. Walker threw 3 touchdowns. All 3 of those were to Cam Phillips.
Yeah, Cam Phillips, a beast. He's getting the next RZFL video. This year, 12 receptions on 18 targets for 130 yards. That ranks 4th in the XFL. But he has the most touchdowns with 4 total touchdowns in the XFL. That's more than 3 XFL teams have total touchdowns on the season. He also has a passer rating of 127.3 on the season when targeted. Against the Battlehawks, he had 8 receptions on 10 targets for 63 yards and 3 touchdowns. Balled out, had a great catch in the back of the end zone, got both feet in for an excellent route, and I feel like he's probably one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in the XFL. One receiver that the stats that haven't gone his way is Mikel McKay. I think Mikel McKay is the best receiver in the XFL, but he has Matt McGloin thrown to him. And we didn't talk about Matt McGloin too much. I mentioned his terrible passer rating, but he played terrible. Okay. That's it. That's our games for week 2. Now we go into our power rankings, and then we're going to go with our picks for week 3. Our power rankings, I'm going to go first here. I feel like the Houston Roughnecks are number 1. P.J. Walker, a beast. That's all I got to say. Great receivers all over the board. Sammy Coates, another good receiver. Cam Phillips. They got a lot of good receivers. Then, number 2, I would have to go with DC Defenders because Cardell Jones is a beast. Their receiving core really good as well with Rashard Ross and Eli Rogers. And a good defense as well that can make plays. And number 3, I'm going to go with the St. Louis Battlehawks because they battled the entire game against the Roughnecks. Jordan Ta'amu, very good quarterback, and they have a running game for sure with Matt Jones as well and Christine Michael. They have people. Defense played very well at times. Then at number 4 right now, I'm going to have to say New York Guardians. And even though Matt McGloin is terrible, I feel like if they get their backup quarterback in there, I think they have Louis Perez on their team, but we didn't see him at all. If they get Williams in there, I feel like with Mikel McKay and all the playmakers they have on that team, they can go ahead and win some games. At 5, my Seattle Dragons, because we beat the Tampa Bay Vipers fair and square. Nothing got ourselves in the way of that. No pass interference call got ourselves in the way of that. I feel like we have very, very solid defense and an offense, a 3-headed monster in the backfield at running back. Receiver-wise, pretty good too with Keenan Reynolds and Austin Prohl. Brandon Silver's just got to step up. At number 6, we have the Dallas Renegades because I just don't know what to say about them. They're just there. They won a game. They're 6. Pretty solid team. 7, the LA Wildcats have been in both the games that they played in, just couldn't. I mean, obviously, they let the Roughnecks game slip away at the end. But I feel like they're still a solid team, and I think with Josh Johnson, they will just improve weekly. And at 8, the team that's salty about pass interference, Tampa Bay Vipers. Because they can't do anything right in the red zone. Their coaching sucks, and their receivers like to push off.
You know, I have actually the exact same power rankings list from this week. I would like to know what Nicholas Buckley Apps has for his power rankings, considering he is more of a Vipers fan than anyone else here.
I mean, I'm not going to be here and say that they're number 1 on the power rankings, but I think I'd put the Defenders as number 1 just because with Cardell Jones and with their amazing defense,
P.J. Walker.
Yes, T.J. Walker.
P.J. Walker. Get my man's name right.
I feel like that the Defenders' defense could shut down that offense. I do feel that.
No,
I'm going to have to say that the Roughnecks are the better team because they have scored 9 touchdowns. They have allowed 6. However, the Defenders have only scored 7.
P.J. Walker is literally the only dude that's elbow could be clearly down and then his helmet hit the ground, get back up, and still convince the refs that he's not down. Anyone else does that, they're down.
Way.
He's a beast. He's a grown man.
Which is why the Roughnecks are number 2, because they also have a pretty good defense, and then P.J. Walker and Cam Phillips together are a great combination. But I just feel like...
1. They're 1.
They're 2.
That is absolutely outrageous.
Last I checked...
Are you kidding me?
Last I checked, the Defenders were 50%, 9 and 18 on third down, while the Roughnecks only went 2 and 10.
That statistic's garbage.
That's a pretty good statistic.
When I looked on the field, I saw a better team when I was watching the Roughnecks. I saw a better team.
Well, hey, I saw a better team when I was looking at the Defenders.
Well, I think if the Defenders went up against right now the Roughnecks, I think the Roughnecks would probably come out ahead because they have scored more touchdowns and their offense is very strong.
I do, but I still feel like that either the defense can hold back the Roughnecks and then Cardell Jones can also give them that little bit of edge.
So where would you say the Vipers are on your power rankings?
Hey, I didn't get there yet.
Okay, keep going.
Let me get there. All right, number 3, I put the Battlehawks because that was just a really tough game with the Roughnecks, and that game could have gone either way.
I presume you have the Guardians.
I feel like they could have won that game. I actually feel like I am gonna put the Renegades ahead of the Guardians.
And the Dragons?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna
That's
put the Renegades
despicable. Oh my goodness! I've never heard such a terrible thing in my life. But I've heard some terrible things before.
Last I checked, the Renegades had over 400, and the Dragons didn't even break 200.
Yeah, but we got a defense.
Last I checked, the Renegades have 3 touchdowns, and you have given up 4.
If you had a defense, then why did you need a push-off to win the game? Huh?
I mean, we didn't push off. You did.
Exactly. So if you had this amazing defense, why did you need that penalty to save you?
So I'm gonna
We didn't even need that penalty.
Yes, you did.
You wouldn't even need that. You wouldn't even hit the
We
conversion.
would have got that touchdown, gotten the 3-point, and won the game.
I think you just would have.
So you're saying the Dragons, who have scored 5 touchdowns and given up 5.
Yeah, and we played the supposed best team in the league, the DC Defenders, and we held our own. And if it wasn't for the turnovers, we would have won.
I do feel, but the fact that they only got
outrageous
199 total yards, how could you say that they're a better team than a team that got 444 yards?
See, I could see you putting them maybe above the Guardians, maybe, but I feel like the Dragons are definitely better.
No.
Yes.
I don't feel that.
Yes.
See, on my power
Okay,
rankings...
let's keep... Okay, keep going.
On my power rankings, I still put the Guardians above the Dragons, but I could see you flip-flopping them. I feel like that's a coin toss. It could go either way. But the fact that you're putting the Renegades, like, above the Dragons, I don't see how that makes any sense to me.
Well, right under the Renegades are the Dragons. They didn't have that much offense. They didn't do that much, but they kept their penalties down, and they scored when they needed to. They won the game.
Analytics garbage right now. Wow.
So you're telling me the Guardians, who you projected to win the game, are now going to be number 6 on your power rankings?
That's what I am saying. Because
7.
Because the way the Vipers lose is by shooting themselves in the foot. And when the Guardians beat the Vipers, it's not
with what? A pistol?
Yeah.
Are we talking handgun?
And the reason the Vipers lost the first game isn't because the Guardians were better. It was because the Vipers lost.
I'm going to have to stop you right there. You're going to tell me the Tampa Bay Vipers, who have 1 touchdown the entire season, are better than the Wildcats.
Yeah, and it was off a pick 6. It was off a pick 6. It was on a pick 6.
Where's their offense?
I would like you to look at these statistics.
Hold on. We're not looking at statistics right now, okay? We're looking at the fact that you only scored 1 touchdown, and that was on a pick 6.
The Wildcats have 4.
And that was
have 4.
That was on Brandon Silvers throwing the ball 50 feet behind a wide open tight end on a flat. And that guy was down for like 5 seconds. Anyone could have touched him. Tampa Bay's terrible. They can't even snap a field goal.
They can't finish drives. That doesn't mean that they're the worst team. I don't feel that.
Well, I feel that the Wildcats are a better team because they have scored 3 more touchdowns than the Vipers. 3 more.
Josh Johnson, much better quarterback than Taylor Cornelius or Aaron.
I'm not saying Cornelius is good. I am so not saying Cornelius is good.
Any garbage can you put out there to play quarterback. You got Dan Williams. That's it. And he pushes off.
How do we even get on the Vipers? I was talking about the Dragons.
Well, because we all assumed...
that you're going to put them 7. Did you put them 7?
I did put them 7.
That's just wow. That's wow. I'm going to remind you guys, we are live from Canada here at the RZFL XFL podcast at Wobbly Potato Productions studio in Canada. We are sponsored by Nicholas Buckley Apps, coming at you with the greatest games of this century. Download Protect Figgy or Jail Run on the Google Play or App Store today.
Or Decode the Code. That's a good game.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Go. Now for my last pick are the Wildcats.
Okay, we got that.
Yes.
And we're done.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
he doesn't even have a reason why. He already knows.
All right. How about the fact that the Vipers had more yards than
But
the
did
Wildcats?
you ever look into the Wildcats and how they actually played?
Yes.
Or did you just assume because you have bias towards the Vipers?
Wow.
Are you telling me
Wow.
that you aren't biased against the Vipers? Because of that man sitting right there.
You know what I'm gonna say? Guess what? I am a Guardians fan. I will say that right now. But guess what? I don't even have the Guardians winning next week. I don't even have the Guardians winning. I have the Battlehawks winning over the Guardians.
We gotta stick with the program.
Okay.
We're not there yet.
Now,
I guess we should
we're
talk
going to
about
do
our
our
picks.
Week 3 picks. Our records, me, RZFL Sports, 2-2. Nicholas Buckley Apps, the person who complains about every call, 2-2. And John,
Yeah.
3-1. The winner of Week 2. Now we go on to Week 3. We're going to start off with our first game. The Houston Roughnecks apparently aren't good enough to be number 1 versus the Tampa Bay Vipers, who apparently are the best team in the league. We will see. Roughnecks Vipers, I'm going to go first. Game on ABC, 2 o'clock, February 22nd. I'm going to have to go with the Tampa Bay Vipers. No. I'm going with the Houston Roughnecks here because PJ, not TJ Walker, is an absolute baller. He's a beast. He's already been featured on RZFL Upload, and he's going to get the job done on the road. Tampa Bay, no one's going to show up to their games because they don't want to see Taylor Cornelius or Aaron Murray or Flowers play quarterback.
You know, I'm going to have to go with the Roughnecks as well. You know, 9 touchdowns versus 1 touchdown, 2 wins versus 2 losses. It's a no-brainer.
And, you know, I can't say that the Vipers are going to beat the Roughnecks because there's just no chance that's going to happen.
Okay,
So I'm also gonna pick the
three
Roughnecks.
picks for the Roughnecks. Or we're going to go down to our second game on Saturday. The Dallas Renegades versus the elite Seattle Dragons. This one, you guys know my pick. Seattle at home. Probably going to get 29,000 people to show up again. Probably apparently going to have the refs on our side again. And we're not going to lose. We're not going to lose. I feel like Brandon Silver's going to have a bounce-back game. Dallas's defense, they don't faze me at all. The Dragons are going to get this win. Austin Pearl is going to get another 2 touchdowns. Brandon Silvers, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. Dragons going to get the job done because of the defense. That's my pick.
You know, I'm going to have the Dragons winning this game as well. You know, the Renegades actually have given up more touchdowns than they have scored, and I feel like overall the Dragons just edge out the Renegades just by a little bit in this game.
I am going to have to pick the Renegades just because I do feel like they are... I do feel they are the better team.
Oh, really?
Why?
Yeah, why?
You didn't say why you thought the Dragons were the better team. You said they win at home.
The Dragons are the better team, though.
Oh,
I already
so
said
I mean,
that on
he
my
is a
power
little
ranking.
bit
not need any,
biased,
do you just
but-
not need any reasoning for that? You just call it out?
I don't. Let's be real, okay? Any team with the refs on our sides, apparently, we'll
Oh,
win.
of course, you're going to win every game.
Yeah, obviously.
But I know the Renegades are an incredibly flawed team right now, but I feel like they can get it done, so I'm going to pick the Renegades.
I don't know.
Third game.
Well, I'm looking at the spreads right now because we do need to pick at least. Okay, so we have the Dragons are apparently underdogs right now, so that's
The
good.
Dragons are the underdogs. That's
Yes.
your underdog.
Okay. I'm gonna go have to pick the Shocks, everyone, right now. The Guardians on the road. I'm going Guardians on the road because I believe right now that the Guardians are gonna get their act together. Whoever they play at quarterback is gonna throw to Mikhail McCann. The defense is elite. The defense is gonna get the job done. Jordan Time is gonna mess up. He's gonna mess up. I say the Guardians win a very tough match and get the job done.
You know, as much as it hurts being a Guardians fan, I just do not believe that they have what it takes to beat the Battlehawks. I mean, if you look at the last Battlehawks game, that was a very close game against the best team right now in the XFL. I'm going to have to say the Battlehawks do beat the Guardians. However, I do feel like the Guardians can get their act together and improve based off of, you know, getting shut out last week and actually have a chance to do something this year. However, I do not feel like they are going to wind up winning against the Battlehawks in Week 3.
You know, this is going to seem weird that you're the only person against your own team, but I feel like out of all the underdogs, I do feel like the Guardians have the best chance of winning.
Yeah, he's got to pick an underdog because he doesn't believe in the Dragons.
Of course.
Yeah, obviously. Okay.
And obviously, he could not pick...
Yeah, he couldn't go against his beloved DC Defenders.
Yeah.
But our last game, DC Defenders, LA Wildcats. I'm gonna have to go with the DC Cardell Joneses here because yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Johnson balls out, but it's not gonna be enough, guys. It's not gonna be enough. DC's gonna win this game, and I think we all feel the same way, but I'll let them express their opinions.
Defenders are better. It's another no-brainer, just like the Roughnecks game. Defenders should have this one. Wildcats aren't good, and we all know Nicholas Buckley Apps, how he feels about the Defenders and the Wildcats. You know, completely opposite sides of the spectrum.
I don't know how I could pick my eats my 8th seed on the power rankings beat the 1. So I'm picking the
Because
Defenders.
you're feeling an
also.
upset.
What?
Because you're feeling an upset.
Not on that game. Not on that one.
Well, that's going to wrap up our picks. We're going to finally do our best player. We're going to do our best player in the XFL, not quarterbacks wise, like our best other player. I'm going to go first. I'm going to have to go, it's either, for me, for offensively, it's either between Cam Phillips or Nelson Spruce, or Mikel McKay. I feel like all three of those players are great. We have not seen Mikel McKay outside of the one dive and catch he had against the Vipers because their secondary is terrible. But Cam Phillips is going to continue to get touchdowns thrown to him. Cam Phillips, by the way, also has 3 more touchdowns than the entire Tampa Bay Vipers team. Has 4 more touchdowns than the Tampa Bay Vipers offense. I'm going to keep throwing shots at them because they're a terrible organization. Yeah, Nelson Spruce, first ever 100-yard game by an XFL receiver. He balled out again and helped keep the Wildcats in both games.
I'm going to have to say Cam Phillips is probably who I'm going to have to say is the best player right now. There's 3 touchdowns last game, 63 yards with 8 receptions. I think overall he's looked great out there, and he's going to continue what he's doing.
The person I'm going to pick, I feel, is
Cardell
really
Jones,
good.
by the way, is not a wide receiver. He's not a wide receiver.
Thank you.
Or
I
a
needed
running
them.
back.
And forgive me for my pronunciation of this. You guys could probably correct me on this, but I believe his name is Cameron
Artist Payne. Yeah,
That's what
I
it
think
was.
that he's a very good running back.
He had 14 runs, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he looked
He
looked
looked-
very good.
he
And
did look
there's
very
there's
good.
a reason why the Panthers kept him for so long. He would be in the NFL right now if it wasn't for the injuries. He's a very solid player.
And yeah, I feel like the injuries definitely didn't.
It's not
hold
your
him
boy
back.
Jaquez Patrick, the guy that could run through anyone.
And it's not Cornelius, surprisingly, the best wide receiver in the XFL.
But he's a quarterback.
Yeah.
That's your boy Dan Williams that pushed off. Come on, Vipers
Yeah.
fan. Come on. Gotta get that right. Defensively, I'm gonna have to give the nod to my boy Marcel Frazier for the pick 6. And also, as much as it hurts to say this, he was a former Arizona hotshot. He had a pick last week. I'd have to go Raheem Moore. Had a great play this week, forcing a fumble on Darius Victor of the Guardians. And a very, very solid contributor to the DC defense. Any defensive players you guys feel bought out, or do you not care about defense? Because we only care about Cardell Jones here.
To be perfectly honest, I don't know. I can't just stop thinking about how the Dragons didn't even have over 100 yards of passing, and I just I can't.
Well, Brandon Silvers is terrible. I'm sorry.
that's just statistic. Can't leave my mind. It's crazy.
I mean, let's talk about
Weird how the world pans out, isn't it?
I think we should talk about the Vipers-Dragons game again. I think that might be a good opportunity. to
We're
bring that game
gonna.
back.
So this is gonna be our final talk. We're gonna readdress this. But before all the heat goes down in this kitchen, before it gets burned down in our studio in Canada, our Wobbly Potatoes production, our producers are saying, let's get this going. We gotta throw in one more sponsorship. I'm sorry, guys. This video, I just said video. This podcast is sponsored by Nicholas Buckley Apps, coming at you with the greatest games of this century. Download Protect the Pity, Run, or Decode on the Google Play or App
I
Store
heard
today.
Fedwise.
Fedwise, yeah, but it's
Oh,
not out
yeah,
yet.
yeah.
It's not out yet, guys. We'll worry about that later. But we're gonna go back to this game. I feel like this is the most talked about thing, and we're gonna go back to this. Some friendly jabs thrown, maybe some foolishness in this debate. But right now, I feel like we got a 2 against 1. The Vipers fan feeling a little lonely right now. Can't get the ball in the end zone unless it's a pick 6. So.
Or we're being screwed by the refs.
I don't think you were screwed by the refs.
I think we should talk about Cornelius's 2 interceptions.
Listen, I'm not
against
calling
the Dragons.
Cornelius good. I'm not, or Flowers. I'm not
or
calling
Aaron
either
Murray,
of them good.
or Aaron Murray, who could not play.
Who couldn't even play because he was injured.
But
I'm not
I think
calling any
we
of
would have
them
blown
good.
you out by even more if Aaron Murray was playing.
All I'm calling our running game. You cannot say our running game.
Oh, you
It's
could
not
you could
good.
truck over us and get to the 1 yard line and not get the ball in the end zone, and then can't kick a field goal.
I'm also not saying that field goal
Our
is a
running
good
game.
idea.
I'm gonna be honest. Our running game is far better than your running game.
I just don't think that at all.
No. This is why you don't see it. You don't see it on here. The Dragons have 3 different running backs. You got Williams, you got Farrow, and you got Gardner. 3 very good guys. And Gardner and Farrow played big roles in the AAF. You got a three-headed monster in the backfield. With all the shots that Brandon Silvers was taking, they didn't really run the ball too much. But when Farrow did have the ball in his hands, he was balling out. We saw what Williams could do as well. And Gardner's he's just like, reminds me of Maurice Jones-Drew. He's a tiny guy but can run through holes and run over people. None of our guys have fumbled.
Yeah.
But I think the Vipers just need to realize Cornelius' weaknesses, which I hope they do soon.
But he's not even the starter. I think Aaron Murray's going to be back next week. And Flowers is probably going to be in even too.
I mean, I think Flowers is good. He's a good wild card, but I feel like paired with Patrick and Smith, who combined had over 100 yards rushing, would be able to be that extra factor to get us a win. Because once we get inside the red zone, which we haven't converted one time in the red zone. By the way, this
is the Red Zone Football Legion. RZFL is the Red Zone Football Legion. You can't even score in the red zone. I don't feel like you got business talking here.
I know the Vipers have not scored, but I feel like it's because that they aren't utilizing the run enough, and they're relying too much on a quarterback that can't throw.
I mean, I don't think any of your quarterbacks can throw.
Unless, according to you,
how about your so-called elite defense?
Okay, I would like to actually mention this. You had the Vipers higher than the Wildcats, correct?
I did have the Vipers.
However, the Wildcats.
That was pure foolishness.
The Wildcats in Week 1 scored 17 points on the Roughnecks, which are the best team in the XFL. I'm just going to remind you that one. Now, if you look at
if they're the best team, then why they have 17 points scored against them?
Let me just ask this: how come in the 2 games that the Vipers have played, they've only put up 12 points, where against the best team in the XFL, the Wildcats, were able to put up 17?
Then I guess the Roughnecks aren't the best team in the XFL. That's really the only reasonable conclusion you can make. And also because the Roughnecks didn't win because of their defense. They led 24 points up to the battle.
Seems like you're hating on the Dragons right here. The Dragons.
I didn't even mention the word Dragons.
The Dragons played very well against DC, who you openly are saying is the number 1 team by far.
Absolutely.
And I would like to mention something actually right now. You know how you had the Renegades actually very high up in the list? We were actually surprised. And yet they only won by 7 against the Wildcats, who you had all the way at the bottom.
I'm seeing some flaws right here.
I'm not saying that because, as far as I know, there's only one good defense in the NFL. Whoa, in the XFL right now, and that is of the Defenders. Every other game, 24-28, 25-18. All these games are close, and there's a lot of points, except for the Defenders game, which was 27-0.
Or you could say the games that the Vipers played didn't have very many points because there's not much scoring on their side.
That's very true. But the reason that the Wildcats scored so many against the Roughnecks and why the Wildcats scored so much against the Renegades because of terrible defense.
Off the weed!
That's all I gotta say right now. That's all I gotta say. I feel like something's going on right now. All your stuff doesn't make any sense. Your sponsorship, you gotta be better than that. I know my power rankings.
I give you the chair you are sitting in right now.
That's facts. You own so many different studios across
I do.
The continent.
All of Canada, all of Argentina. Those are my 2 main bases of operation.
Okay. Well, I think. Any last words? Does anyone need to say anything?
That wasn't pass interference.
Vipers are the worst team. That's really it.
How about them Dragons? That's all I gotta say right now. PJ Walker's a beast. Cam Phillips is a beast. Cardo Jones is a one-man team. Yeah.
That's about it.
Thank you guys for watching. We were live from the Wobbly Potato Productions studio in Canada. It was an honor to anyone watching listening to this podcast. It wasn't pass interference. I just said it wasn't pass interference. I need to stay off the weed right now.
Very true.
It was pass interference. Thank you guys for watching. You've been a wonderful audience. This is sponsored by Buckley Apps, coming at you with the greatest games of the century. Download Protect Piggy J, Run Fred Y, or Decode the Code today. This is RZFL XFL Podcast, signing off.